In this presentation, we're going to take a look at a tax preparation problem 1.2, this time moving forward to the Excel verification worksheet. In other words, in the prior presentation, we actually worked through the problem, entering it into the formula and into tax software. Now we're going to verify it in a formula basis by entering this information into our Excel worksheet. Here is the Excel worksheet that we will be using. You should be able to find this in your source documents. We entered this into a tax return last time. Here's the actual tax return. Here's the forms. Now remember, when you enter this into the Excel worksheet, you don't want to take it directly from the tax forms. You basically want to take it from your data input documents and then source that from the data input documents into another source, another form of calculation. That's going to give you that double check, that verification we're looking for. So here's going to be our source documents. We're starting off with the W-2. Now remember, on the W-2, the wages and the federal income taxes, box 1 and 2, those are the two that are going to have an effect on the federal income tax return generally. Therefore, those are the ones we're looking for. Box 1, 70,000, box 2, 8,500. So if we go then to our worksheet, we're going to say, all right, here's going to be box 1, the gross income. It's going to be going up. I'm going to go to the lead sheet that's going to feed into this. Similar fashion as with the 1040, except this one is distilled even further down to simply the equation. Everything else is going to be on a supporting document. Then we have our W-2 income I'm going to put on the right. Again, we could have multiple W-2 incomes, right? And we could have multiple spaces to enter multiple wages for multiple different W-2 forms. Here we have the one. We'll see more in future problems. We're going to say 70,000 there. It will then fall over or format over or pull over to the first page, and there's the 70,000 on the first page. Then we also had the amount that was withheld, 8,500. So line 1 would be affected directly, and then we would expect the other line to be affected directly down here in the payments and credits. So this line would be affected directly. This is how much was withheld or taken out of the paycheck. So we're going to go to credits and payments then. I'm going to go into the W-2 area, and that's going to be the 8,500. That's box 2 on the W-2. What's that do to our formula? That's going to pull over to the formula in the payments line, payments and refundable credits. And so what happens here? We got 70,000 of income. We've got nothing for the above the line adjusted gross income or Schedule 1 deductions. 70,000 for the AGI or adjusted gross income. Greater of the itemized or standard, we're taking the standard, which is the 12,200. That's for a single individual, so that's the standard deduction for a single individual. And that brings the taxable income, 70,000 minus the 12,200 to 57,800. Then we have the tax rate, which we don't know. It's a progressive tax system. That's what we're going to depend on the computer for, on the software for, on Lacert for, tax software. And then that's going to give us the tax amount, depending on the software for that. And then we have the actual payment that was made, 8,500, and we'll have a refund, but it will be dependent on what we're going to put in this number. This is the one number we're going to take directly from the tax return, because I'm not going to recalculate the progressive tax system each time to do it, to verify. You could, but I'm not going to do that here. We're going to go. So basically, until you finish this thing, you're kind of in limbo on the second half of the return. You know, all you can do is put in the payments. I can't check this number until I put the tax in, and I can't do that until I enter everything. So even though you're putting the amount of payments down here as you enter the W-2, you're really focusing first on verifying the taxable income, because until you get that correct, you can't get the tax payment, which we're going to pull from the actual tax software. So the next thing we got to enter then is the rest of the return, the rest of the data we had, which is going to be the 1099. So you'll recall we had two 1099s, both having just normal income in box 1. The income was on the right, or the form is on the right that you can look up, as well as the instructions if you have questions on it. Box 1, 600 for one, 250 for the other. So if I go back into our data input, that's going to be included in line 1. Therefore, it's going to be in the first lead sheet income worksheet. And we said that it was 600. I have 2 spaces for it. So note we have 2 spaces, and I could put, this is from bank 1 and bank 2, if we so choose. And we could put the institution and put more information. If someone else is reviewing this, you can do that. You can have more or less detail depending on whatever your process is that you are using. But the 70,000 of W-2 income, now 850 of the interest income, that totals out down below to the 70,850. That then pulls forward to the first page of the tax formula. There's the 70,850. $70,850 now, no above the line. We have the adjusted gross income, same. Standard deduction, $12,200. Then if we subtract out the $70,850 minus the standard deduction, we get the $58,650. This then is what we want to verify to the tax return. So we're hoping that's going to tie out here to page 1. Let's check it out. We got the 70,000. Now, note when you tie these two out in our lead sheet, we grouped them together here. So really you're tying this out to the bottom line number. You're tying this out to this total income number. Now, if this total income number were off, then you'd have to tie each of these individuals out. How do you do that? You'd go to your formula here. You'd go to this page that's going to feed into it and check off the data or the information related to it. Again, you want to go to the totals probably first. And then if those totals are off, then you go into the more detailed information. So here, if we go back, the 70,850 is correct. So we're going to say, all right, there's the 70,850. So these two look good. We don't really have to verify those. This is kind of our bottom line. You could for more detail, but we're going to go down here. There was no adjustment. And then we had the adjusted gross income. That should tie out, of course, same number. Then we had the 12,002 for the standard deduction. So here it is. We got the 12,200. So the 70,000 minus the 12,200, that gives us the 58,650. That should verify over here. And we're going to say, does that check out? There's the 58,650. Once that's good, if that number's right, then we can use the software to apply the tax on that taxable income. So that's the taxable income. We verified it. Therefore, let's see what the tax calculation will be on it. We'll use the software to do that. Page 2. It's going to say, there it is, 8,767, 8,767. I'm going to manually put that into our system over here. We're going to say, all right, tax 8,767. So now we've done that. It'll calculate the average rate, but that's 15% average rate. But, that's just the average. And so that's the amount of tax. Now we can go through the rest. There's no credits at this time, no other taxes. We made a payment. Recall, we entered this when we entered the W-2, but we couldn't really look at the bottom line refund until we calculate the tax on it, which is using a progressive system, which we're dependent on the software to do for us. Therefore, we have a tax due at this point of the 267 because we had the liabilities greater than the payment. So 267. So I'm going to go back over here and say, all right, that makes sense. Here's the amount of withholding. That's correct. And there's going to be our amount owed, 267. We can also see that in the summary format if we want to compare kind of more of a summary format. Some people really like the summary to look at easier. It's best to look at this with clients. It might be easiest to go back and forth to do your verification numbers here. In Lacert, I can't check things off here as easily, so I like the little check feature to go through it. So as always, from this point, you want to basically then do the diagnostics at that point and see if there's any kind of diagnostics that whatever software you're using is saying, hey, you should take care of this. There's some kind of information thing we need to add. And the analytics, if there's going to be suggestions, one of the major suggestions all the time, if you don't see a retirement plan or you don't see a 401k or an IRA, you might want to say, do you want to invest in an IRA? And then you can figure out the tax savings on that. A lot of software will actually calculate that for you. Such like the analytics for Lacert will typically calculate what the savings would be on that and give other kind of suggestions on tax planning for the future. So you want other questions about this particular return, and then you could lead into questions about tax planning into the future as well.